Predicting the weather is always a challenge, but some patterns are definitely a lot easier to decipher than others. In this week's Heather's Weather Wise, I'll show you which weather patterns give me the biggest headaches. When I'm putting a forecast together, I use a combination of different observations, satellites, radars, plus my own knowledge of what makes the atmosphere tick. But I can't see into the future any better than you can, so I get a little help from weather forecasting computer models. Those models take all kinds of data across a huge grid over the United States and the Northern Hemisphere, run them through some really complicated looking math problems, and give us an idea of what could happen. The more data these models have to start with, or the closer together those data points are, the better a model can see what's going on. But this takes a ton of time and computing power to run. That puts a limit on how often we can run them and how much accuracy they can achieve. Over time, we've learned that models tend to do really well with long-lasting weather patterns where not a whole lot is changing. That's because you don't need a whole lot of information to figure out what could be coming next. It's when the weather pattern changes frequently or goes through really big changes that us and the models can be sent spinning. Think of it this way. If I asked you to solve this math problem, you could probably do it without a second thought. But if I gave you this problem, well, here's what that 2+2 weather pattern might look like. A nice big ridge of high pressure right over the eastern U.S. Now, we and the models know that high pressure means sinking air, which translates to sunshine and relatively little wind. We also know that if that high is strong enough, it's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Now consider the weather changes that we typically deal with this time of the year. Temperature swings, wind, and frequent weather systems with a range of precipitation types. Add to that an increasing sun angle and changing amounts of daylight, and that's a lot of variables to keep track of. There just aren't enough accurate and precise observations coming in, nor enough computing power, or even enough human know-how to keep track of all of that. This kind of pattern is an example of that really scary math you saw a moment ago. We do our best, of course, but these very changeable weather patterns will always come with changes to a forecast. That's why next Wednesday may have a forecast high of 45, but then 2 days later we change it to 60. It's our job to point those trends out to you and help you understand why the weather is so changeable. And of course, checking on the forecast frequently helps us all out too. You can do that anytime at WGRZ.com/weather. That's it for this week's Heather's Weather Wise. I'll see you next week with a new topic, but until then, remember it's good to be a geek.